When Campus joined his friend Brian Tribble in the dorm room of two of his Terrapin teammates. There was cocaine in the room.
I think it was a party, a celebration that got out of control. I think the excitement of Len's draft status, going to his dream team, and those guys actually having fun, it got out of control.
They said to Bias, don't you think you ought to back off a little bit? And the report is he said, I'm fine, I'm a horse, I'll be okay. And then he got up to try to go to the bathroom, and he wasn't able to walk. Sat back down on the bed, lay down then, and began to have what apparently was a seizure.
Brian Tribble calls for help for his friend, Len Bias.
Please come as soon as you can. It's no joke. Like in Washington Hall, apartment number 1103. Len Bias. You have to get him back to life. There's no way he can die.
If you listen to his voice and you listen to his cries for help, in that tape you can just close your eyes and imagine what is going on in that dorm room.
Len Bias was brought to us at 6:50 this morning. He was in a full cardiorespiratory arrest. There was no heartbeat, no spontaneous respirations, and he died at 8:50 this morning.
I went into the room where he was, and they had tubes sticking out his mouth. And he was just laying there. And I couldn't believe he was dead.
The fallout from Bias's death was devastating at Maryland. 4 months later, following a university investigation, athletic director Dick Dull resigned, along with Lefty Driesell, the winningest coach in school history.
The Bias death was a nightmare for the University of Maryland, in every sense of the word. It hurt them in every way you can imagine. Fundraising, admissions, national reputation, the worst chapter, I think, probably in the history of the university.
The Bias tragedy began a downward spiral for the Boston Celtics, who only 10 days before Bias's death had won their record 16th NBA championship. They have not won a title since and are tied with the lowly Clippers with an active streak of 8 consecutive losing seasons.
People don't understand. They say, well, what happened to the Celtics over here? Imagine what would have happened if we had Bias for 10, 12 years.
And it was a precursor because there had been almost nothing but major events of bad news for the Boston Celtics ever since. This was the dividing line between 30 years of bliss and what now is 15 years and counting of negativity.
What he would have done for the Celtics is very simple. There would have been no fall off when Larry Bird retired.
But the death of Bias reached far beyond basketball to change America.
His death was the moment that precipitated this massive, ongoing 15-year war on drugs.
We must rally the government, our community, and the media to the issue of drug abuse.
Suddenly, all of the ridicule about just say no vanished, and everyone was just say no.
Every member of Congress who's up for re-election wants to be on record as being the toughest guy on drugs.
Very rarely did anybody talk about rehabilitation. They were talking about punishment.
In the months following Len Bias, Congress passes an additional 29 mandatory minimum sentences. A 50% increase in 3 months, 26 of them having to do with drugs. And the problem with the laws that are passed in the wake of Len Bias is that you can't go back. Because what member of Congress is going to stand up and say, I think we ought to be easier on crack dealers?
What it has resulted in is the United States having the highest proportion of young individuals incarcerated all over the world. Put people in jail, that'll take care of the drug problem. Well, it hasn't taken care of the drug problem.